The hum begins long before any stage lights flicker on. It lives in group chats, in late-night scrolling, in the quiet but electric anticipation that pulses through millions of fans across continents. By the time whispers of a rumored April 9th concert surface, the energy has already taken shape. Something between hope and certainty, like the feeling just before a storm finally breaks. And at the center of it all, as if pulled by gravity itself, is Kim Tayong. The news doesn't arrive gently. It crashes into timelines, ricochets across social media, and within minutes, it feels as though the entire world is leaning in just a little closer. BTS is said to be preparing something special. Something more than a performance, more than a concert. And almost immediately, the narrative begins to orbit around Taehyung, as it so often does. Not just because of his presence, which is impossible to ignore, but because there is a quiet understanding among fans. When Taehyung is involved at this level, something unforgettable is coming. There is a particular kind of magic that surrounds him, the kind that doesn't announce itself loudly but instead seeps into the edges of a moment. It's in the way he looks into a camera, not as if he's being watched, but as if he's the one doing the seeing. It's in the subtle control of his voice, the delicate balance between restraint and release. On stage, he doesn't simply perform, he transforms. A gesture becomes a statement, a note becomes a feeling. A single second stretches into something cinematic. So when the phrase "he will do his best" begins circulating, it lands differently. It doesn't read like a promise, it feels like a warning. Because those who have watched him closely know that when Taehyung decides to give everything, he does so without holding anything back. The result is rarely just impressive. It's overwhelming, emotional, the kind of performance that lingers long after the lights go down. As the date looms closer, the atmosphere thickens. Fans begin to imagine what this could mean, not just for the concert but for what might come after. There are murmurs of a new project, something described in near mythical terms as impossible to replicate. The phrase alone is enough to ignite 1,000 theories. What does it look like, something that cannot be repeated? Is it a stage design that defies expectation? A fusion of music and storytelling so precise it feels singular? Or is it something less tangible? Something emotional, ephemeral, impossible to capture twice in the same way? If anyone could embody such a concept, many believe it would be Taehyung. Over the years, he has revealed himself not just as a performer, but as an artist in the truest sense. Someone who understands the language of mood, texture, and silence. His artistry doesn't demand attention. It draws it in, slowly, until you realize you've been completely pulled under. Lately, there has been a noticeable shift in him. A stillness, almost. A sense of control that feels deeper, more deliberate. Where there was once a playful unpredictability, there is now something richer. An awareness of his own power and how to wield it. It's not that he has become less dynamic. If anything, he feels more potent, as if every movement has been distilled to its most essential form. And that's what makes this moment feel different. In the days leading up to the rumored concert, the conversations grow more detailed, more specific. Fans debate everything from lighting palettes to fabric textures, from potential solo stages to the symbolism hidden in a single accessory. There is a kind of collective imagination at work, building a version of the night piece by piece. And at the center of every version, Taehyung stands, sometimes in shadow, sometimes in spotlight, but always unmistakably present. There is also an emotional undercurrent running beneath it all. Because BTS concerts have never been just about music. They are gatherings, reunions, shared experiences that collapse distance and time into a single, unified moment. And when Taehyung steps into that space, he carries something with him. Something deeply personal, even when it's not spoken. He has always had a way of making the vast feel intimate. A stadium becomes a room. A performance becomes a conversation. Even in silence, there is communication. Perhaps that is why fans find themselves so affected by him. Not because he demands to be seen, but because he makes them feel seen in return. Speculation continues to swirl about what role he will play in this so-called unreplicable project. Some imagine him at the heart of it, shaping its aesthetic and emotional core. Others believe his contribution will be more subtle, woven into the fabric of the performance in ways that only reveal themselves upon reflection. But no matter the form, there is a shared belief that whatever he brings will matter. Because Taehyung doesn't deal in surface-level moments. He builds layers. Meaning hides in the smallest details, a glance that lasts half a second too long, a shift in tone that changes the weight of a lyric, a pause that says more than any line ever could. These are the things that stay with people. These are the things that turn performances into memories. As April 9th approaches, the anticipation becomes almost unbearable. There is excitement, yes, but also a kind of readiness, as if fans are bracing themselves for impact. They joke about being attacked by his performance, but beneath the humor is something real. The understanding that what they are about to witness might move them in ways they can't fully predict. And maybe that's the point. Because the most powerful moments are never the ones we can fully prepare for. They arrive suddenly, fully formed, and leave us changed in ways we only begin to understand afterward. If this concert is indeed the beginning of something new, something that cannot be recreated, then perhaps it will be defined not just by what happens on stage, but by how it feels. And somewhere in that feeling, in that collective breath held by millions, Kim Tayong will step forward. Not just as an idol, not just as a performer, but as something rarer. An artist at the exact moment he chooses to give everything.